And now our legal analyst guest this hour, standing by in Seattle, Washington, trial attorney, former prosecutor Kirk Davis is joining us. Kirk, thanks for coming on the program. And I know you were hearing the conversation Julia and I were just having about how Derek Chauvin's attorney very passionately and very pointedly was asking the court to first grant a continuance, saying that this isn't right. His right to a fair trial has been jeopardized. And if the court isn't inclined to grant a continuance, then move the trial someplace else, give them more strikes, do something to make this process more fair. Give us your take on that, please.
Well, I think Mr. Nelson for representing Derek Chauvin was absolutely correct to make that motion. I mean, you gotta make that, because his assumption, and we don't know whether this will be correct, is that with this massive, unprecedented settlement by the city of $27 million, that's tantamount to an admission by the city that there was something wrong here, and potentially even criminally wrong. So, of course, they're hugely concerned about it. It was absolutely a correct motion to bring.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Kirk. Let's take a listen to some of what Eric Nelson told the court earlier this morning, and I'll get your reaction on the other side, please.
This is, by my count, notwithstanding all of the high-ranking state officials that made comments at the onset of this entire situation, but by my count, this is the third highly prejudicial and incredibly prejudicial press leak or press release that has very suspicious timing, to say the least.
All right, Kirk, what do you think of that? Very suspicious timing were his words.
Well, obviously, he is thinking that perhaps there's some sort of collusion or some sort of agenda going on with the city officials to help the prosecution. He's thinking that with this, again, massive, unprecedented settlement, that the city is sending a message. It was highly unusual, too, the way this came down, with the mayor and other folks, other city council folks coming out and sort of waving the flag and saying, and linking arms sort of metaphorically with the Floyd family to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's get past this. Let's see if we can all work together. Highly unusual for a city giving a bunch of money to be trumpeting the money that they're giving.
Right, right. And you practice civil law. You know how these things go. I mean, please explain to our viewers, is this odd to see a civil case settle before the criminal case is disposed of, Kirk?
Absolutely, highly unusual, and also unusual in this state, apparently, because as you know, Julie, from just a couple of years, a year or so ago, with the officer Noor, who shot the poor lady from Australia. In that case, as you know, they waited until the criminal case was done. And then just days later, they settled that for, I think it was $20 million, if I recall the press reports correctly.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we keep hearing about the Noor case with this one and the adding on of that third-degree murder charge last week. That was the other big news. Kirk, thank you. I want to take a listen together to a clip from one of the members of the prosecution team, Steve Slisher, when he responded to the defense argument about the very suspicious timing of that announcement of the $27 million settlement.
All I can say to the court is there are some things that the state of Minnesota and this prosecution team can control, and there's some things that the state cannot and does not control. We can control the witnesses we call, we can control the evidence that we bring in, we can control the motions, but we cannot and do not control the civil aspect of the case. We cannot and do not control the Minneapolis City Council, and we certainly cannot and do not control the news cycle.
I want to bring back in Julia and Janae to give us some reaction on this one.